everyone, and welcome back to Mind Your Mission, a podcast for Christian women looking for direction in their life and needing encouragement to stay on track towards what God says is good in His Word. Today, we are back with another episode. This month, we're going to be talking about homemaking on the podcast. But first, we wanted to give you a little life update because if you heard last week's episode, we're back at work now and kind of getting in a new routine. I don't know about you, Liz, but I am not fully in a new routine yet, but we're working on it. Anyway, Liz, you want to start with a little life update?
Yeah, this week was my first week back at work, and I only did 3 days, really. But it was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I feel like the lead up was so much worse than it actually was. Like the day before, a couple days before, I was like so anxious and stressed and really crying and distraught. But once I got to work, it actually was not that bad. Like I actually kind of enjoyed being there, which I guess I enjoyed it more than pre-baby, I guess, probably because it was the first time that I kind of felt more like myself again, which I don't necessarily want to go back to that, but it was like nice to have like adult conversations, and I understand a little bit more what you were talking about in the last episode, how you could see how people could enjoy that. Like I did enjoy it, but at the same time, like I'm exhausted, like I'm so tired, like because I'm at work all day, all the stuff that I did during the day has to be like either before or after work. So it just like it makes you very, very tired. This is worse than pregnancy tired. This is worse than newborn tired in my mind. I'm just like, I'm so tired. And so that has been a lot. Especially pumping is also just like so much prep. Like everything in the morning, everything in the evening, during the day. It's just like a lot. It's a lot. And so I'm also getting into the new routine. Like I'm definitely not in it yet. So hopefully once I get into routine, it'll be a little bit more easier. But yeah, it's just been a lot. But going to work has been better than I thought. I mean, I would still rather be at home, but I'm trying to like look at the positives of it so that I can like get through this next year. And it was fun to see all my friends at work and all of that and talk to them. And we've had a lot of people in town too for like the last month. So I feel like that has helped like me get my mind off of things and not really think too much about it. So it's been good. How was your week? You've been doing it for like about a week?
Yeah. I feel like I've only done like 2-day increments because I went back Wednesday, Thursday last week and then had Friday off. Went back Monday, Tuesday, took Wednesday off, and now I'm back Thursday, Friday. So I've only been back in 2-day increments. That's been okay. That's been manageable. Like you're saying, I'm also exhausted. Like I mentioned last week's episode, there are things that are just easier about going to work. You don't have to do the same house cleanup like 3 times during the day. You just do it once at the end of the day. Like someone else is doing that at my house during the middle of the day. Like overall, when you're managing so many logistics in your head, like there's just the mental load of having to make sure everything's figured out at home and then also at work, even just like packing my lunch. I'm like, whoa, I'm not used to like having to prep all this food the night before and pack it, which on one hand is good because like I feel like I eat better, like more full lunches at work because I actually have to prep it. But like just a mental load of, like you're saying, making sure, ice for the milk and like pumping and I don't know. There's just a lot. And the other day, you're talking about like house chores. The other day, uh, one of my blue pens in my ODU pockets ended up in my laundry. And so all my laundry was stained and now my dryer's stained. And like, yeah, did not need that on top of like trying to figure out when even to do laundry in this new normal. So figuring it out, it's easier, I think, because I've done it before, but still an adjustment for sure. And I think it's interesting that we're talking about homemaking this month because like in my mind, it's really easy to associate homemaking with like the typical like stay-at-home mom, like trad wife kind of vibe. But really, when I went back to work after Weston, I started like asking myself the question, are you viewing your work outside of the home as an additional responsibility or an alternative one? Because to me, that question really shifts how I'm looking at my home. Because if I'm viewing my home as just an additional responsibility, then it's going to come after everything I have to do outside of the home, and then things are going to like lag. But if I view my job at home as my primary job and then my job outside of work as an additional one, then I'm like prioritizing things in my home, they're running smoothly, and then I can like supplement with the work outside the home, if that makes sense. So I think it's cool that we're talking about it as you go back to work because our homemaking rhythms might be shifting a little bit, but they're nonetheless important. And I think that it's still homemaking still matters in the season where we're working and where we're busy because our home is still where stewardship for our families happens and where so many other things, whether it be the meals that our families are eating, the clothes they're wearing, the money that we're spending, like a lot of that starts in our home and it matters even if we're working moms. So I just think it's a cool tie in. Again, I usually think that homemaking is tied to like stay at home mom life, but it's not necessarily. And so today we're going to kind of dive into why it's important and what scripture says about how we should be viewing our homemaking jobs as women. So yeah, Liz, are there any initial thoughts you have, or is there anything that's like surprised you about running a home since we graduated that like you didn't necessarily expect?
Yeah, I feel like it's been a transition for me because I never did chores growing up, which is funny,
Me
but it's
neither.
because I know, like I never did, but I also like didn't have time really because I went to school, I worked a job, and I did like 3 sports a year. So I was always I wasn't at home till like 10 p.m. every night in high school pretty much. So I feel like and at the academy, you don't really you're not like we didn't get to practice it in college because we're in a dorm all 4 years. I mean, so it really has been since graduating. And I remember being really into cooking when I graduated, and now it's like such a chore. So I want to get back to that, but I really don't have the time to get back to that. But I guess what surprised me is like how monotonous it is. Like it's just the same thing every day over and over, which can make you kind of go crazy. But it's just finding ways, I guess, to make that fun and to make it something you enjoy and try not to like complain about the monotony of it. But it is very monotonous. And I'm not the best homemaker. So this episode will be good for me. I feel like since becoming a mom, I've been better. Like, I guess there's more motivation, maybe. But yeah, I'm not the best.
Yeah, I also did do chores growing up, and my dad always said that like school was our job because same we were busy doing sports until like 8 o'clock, and like yeah, I didn't get home till late, and there was just not time for that. Which that's like a whole topic in and of itself because my kids will definitely be doing chores, and we're definitely going to prioritize some different things. But that's just like the way that culture was pushing, and I think we're kind of at least kind of in the Christian world swinging back a little bit to the other side, like being less busy with kids and stuff like that. But because these skills are important and they really do shape like so much of our lives, whether we realize it or not. Like, I think what surprised me, one, like you mentioned, the repetition, like it just never ends. Like cooking never ends, laundry never ends. Like all of these chores that we do that typically the wife or the mom does in the home, they never end. And it's really easy to like get depressed about that and just get worn down because they never end. Or we can view it as an opportunity to establish rhythms that are going to over time make a difference even if they don't seem like it like on the daily. And then another thing that surprised me in like a positive way is how quickly things do become habits and rhythms. Like as I was preparing for this episode, I was thinking about like mealtime, for example. And I know growing up, like we definitely sat down to eat dinner together, but it wasn't like we were sitting down every night to have dinner. Like there were nights when like my sister got home earlier or later than I did, and like we would just eat when it was convenient in our homework time. Like we didn't always eat together, but like me and Nolan and Weston and now Haven, like as a family, like we just do sit down and eat dinner together. Like I don't remember the last time I ate dinner like sitting on the couch or something like that. Like, since we had Weston, like we've always sat down and eaten dinner, and I know that that's not the case for a lot of families. And so I don't know. It's just things do quickly become routine, like the new normal, and we have a lot of say over that as the women and wives that we are. And in scripture in Proverbs 14:1, it says, "The wisest of women builds her house, but folly with her own hands tears it down." So, like, we really do, according to scripture, have a lot of power of how our families are gonna be structured and how well our families are gonna be functioning. And it's the daily choices that are gonna really shape that environment, not some like grand gestures. And even with cleaning, for example, like I don't remember the last time. I think before we had kids, it was like Saturdays were cleaning days and we just like tackled everything on one day. But now it's like I don't necessarily get overwhelmed with cleaning anymore, nor do I really even think twice about it because it's just happening all the time, which can seem really daunting on one hand, but on the other, it's like we just are continually, like every day, just cleaning the spaces that we're in. And I don't remember the last time I really like deep cleaned everything. And that's not because I haven't done it. It's just because it's happened like in the little moments, like not all at once. Like I'll do like one room this day and another room this day. And like it'll just happen as we're living in the space or like after bedtime or after I go to the bathroom, I'll just like clean the toilet. Like things just happen quicker and they're less daunting and I don't have to think about them as much. So that's kind of a ramble of what kind of surprised me and how I viewed it. But there's a difference between keeping a house versus building a home. Homemaking isn't just like cleaning or chores. It's creating an environment where people feel safe, welcomed, and cared for. And I think this work is often undervalued or seen as just like checking the box on these items, but really like it's creating an environment of peace and comfort and of it's really stewardship too. Homemaking is stewarding your home so that your family can thrive. So, Liz, what comes to mind when you think of like what the difference between making a home versus just a house?
I feel like whenever you're like at work, you don't say like, "Oh, I'm going to the house." You're like, "I'm going to my home." And I think part of that is just the effort you put into making it like a safe space and a peaceful space. And part of that comes with the chores that we have to make it that peaceful space. So I feel like it's curating that and just curating an environment where people can grow and thrive and just be able to relax from work or from school or something like that, I guess is the difference. I'm still like diving into the whole homemaking world. Like I'm not, you're definitely more in the homemaking realm than I am. I feel like becoming a mom, you kind of go in a little bit. Well, when I was married too, it's like creating an environment that my husband could feel peace, rest, and contentment, and that I can feel too. But what is your take on that?
Yeah, I feel like before having kids, I didn't really need to implement any of these things because I don't know, it could happen whenever and there wasn't really
Timeline.
a timeline and there wasn't as much molding being done like with my kid, like with my husband. It's not like I needed to like I don't know, establish an environment where he could foster and grow and like yes I do, but like with my kids, especially I've realized over the last couple months of like when I was home on maternity leave, like my mood, my disposition, my all of that really does impact how my kids are behaving, acting, and feeling, and I think that how I'm feeling often is dictated whether or not it should be, I'm not sure, but it's often dictated by the state of my home. And there's things in my home that when they are in order and under control, like I am able to be more relaxed and less like worried about other things and focused on my kids. And so I think that that's how my perspective has changed after having kids. It's like, it's not that I need to do these things to check a box. It's that like these things help our family do better as a whole because I'm less stressed, they're less stressed. The physical space is less cluttered and consumed by things to do. So I think that in that sense, like you'd think it'd become more stressful having kids, but I think it's become actually less stressful and just something that we do because it benefits our family.
That's so true about like when my home is clean and organized and put together, then I am a much better mom and wife because I'm not as stressed. So I feel like that's all where it starts. And my same with my husband too. He's a better person when the house is clean. Like he gets the same stressed feeling. I feel like that is super important. And right now our son's too young to like notice, but building the habits now so that when he is a little bit older, I think is important too.
Yeah, and of course, like, the atmosphere matters more than perfection, like, I think of Luke 10 when, like, the contrast between Mary and Martha in Luke 10, like, Mary chooses to spend time with Jesus, and Martha's, like, stressing about everything in her home, and Jesus says to her that she's chosen the good portion that will not be taken away from her, and so, like, we have to like, have that mindset of it and not try to control it, but also these, like, simple rhythms do bring stability, like we're talking about, to our families. Kids are gonna thrive also with predictable rhythms and just a not, like, crazy space, and so, like, things like I think of when I think of homemaking, um, that we can kinda dive into are one, like I mentioned, family meals, like, that's a simple rhythm that, like, if you're not doing, can really benefit your family, like, to one, prioritize then preparing a meal, like, you're not going out to eat, you're not getting takeout, you're not just snacking for dinner, like, preparing a meal and then sitting down with your family, even if it's a chaotic, like, two-year-old toddler dinner, which most of ours are, they probably last about 10 minutes, like, where he's, like, sitting and content eating, but just that rhythm of, like, sitting down together, enjoying a meal, eating healthy food, like, prioritizing all that is really important. Another thing that I think of, like, in the homemaking world that we've tried to prioritize is just bedtime routines. Like, we are trying to eventually this will look different as he gets older, but we wanna clean up the house together after dinner, like, not just, like, once they go to bed clean up, we wanna all do that together because it's all of our space, it's all of our responsibility to steward, so we wanna clean up the house together and then, do bath time, read some books before bed, like, we wanna prioritize that bedtime routine. Other things that I think come to mind typically when we're, like, talking about homemaking are just, like, the vibe, I'll say, like, music, lighting, like, calm spaces, and, like, you don't need to have any of that stuff to make the house calm, like, I definitely don't have candles out when the kids are awake, obviously, like, there's things like that, but, like, when guests come over, we do light a candle, like, we want the aroma to be pleasing, and we want there to not be, like, feelings of disgust because there's dirt on the floor because I haven't vacuumed, like, we want the space to be presentable, and we want people to feel welcomed and not, like we don't want them to be thinking about the things that they see in the environment when they're over at our house. We want them to be thinking about conversation with us and connection. And then, like I mentioned, I always think of too just the emotional tone of the home. And I got to check myself because I often have like a very especially postpartum, I feel like I've struggled with like a angry like even when I'm not like angry, like I just have like an angry disposition. Like I just like come across as like really easily reactive to a lot of things. And I don't want to be that way in my home because that like sets a very negative tone. So are there any other things that come to mind? Like, I don't know, category wise when you think of homemaking?
Yeah, I think as working moms, it's also important. You kind of have to divide the tasks. Like, obviously, when on maternity leave, like I did most of it. I was gone for most of it. But when
Yeah.
he was here, like I did most of it because I was home all day. But now that I am going back to work, it's important to, like, you can't handle it all by yourself and you're both working outside the home. So you kind of need to split and divide and conquer. So just figuring that out too, because, like, yes, I feel like oftentimes it defaults on the woman, which is easier when you're at home. But if you're both working, like, I think you both kind of have to help out each other because it's just you can't with kids and everything, you can't do it all by yourself. So that is important next year to like change obviously a little bit, but for this year, just figuring that out and what that looks like. I'll talk more about like the specific stuff later, but just like planning your meals, I feel like is important so that you know what you're having and you're not getting takeout and like having a morning routine, evening routines. I feel like those help kids also with like predictability. Like I said, I have like a 4-month-old, so he doesn't notice, but I do.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that about, like, husbands too, because 'cause we've definitely even in, like, a week since I've been back, had to revisit just roles and responsibilities because that is another, I'll say sacrifice, like, that's kind of a dramatic word for it, but another sacrifice of having to be a working mom is just that our husbands have to probably take on some more things that they wouldn't have to take on if we were able to be home and do those things during the day. Like the other day, Nolan cooked dinner and he usually does not cook dinner. And that's just because like if I am coming home and immediately cooking dinner, then I'm not going to spend much time with the kids. So like we just have to, figure out those new rhythms. And there are so many things too that like, if Nolan were to go on patrol right now or, like, be gone, like, I don't even remember half the stuff that he does because he just does it on the daily, like, taking out the trash and all the car stuff and locking the doors in the house, like, there's just things that he does that, like, I don't think about, and once you, like, kind of establish those routines, the dishes, he takes out the compost, like, all these different things. Like, when you establish them and you don't have to think about them, like, they just become routine and you just have, like, a good running system, but, yeah, we're kind of refiguring out what that looks like because it's definitely not, like, the wife doing all of it. It's just you gotta, push and pull, divide and conquer kinda thing. So but I I do think that, like like I mentioned, like, all of these things are, like, so meaningful even though they feel meaningless. Like I talked about last week, at the end of the day, when I'm home and just doing these tasks, like, I get to the end of the day and I'm like, "What do I have to show for my work?" Like, there's not much that you have to show, but they really do, like, impact the way that our family lives, and homemaking is not just about how home looks, it really shapes how we live, how we spend our money, what we eat, how we feel, like, if it's a peaceful environment or not. And I wanted to talk about finances too. I mean, it's like, prime, like, tax day is approaching, right? But, I feel like many of our family's spending decisions happen in the home, obviously, and there are many things within homemaking that can, like, dictate our, like, financial stability, honestly. Like, when we're in the home, like, we have to try to avoid, like, constantly buying things just to fill the space. We have to choose, like, quality over quantity, like we talked about in our registry episode. Like, intentional purchases protect finances and reduce clutter in our home, and so, like, there's a financial tie-in too to homemaking. Like, even if you're not, like, physically looking at a budget before you go to the grocery store, like, everything you buy for the home, like, costs money, and so you have a big impact on the financial stability of your house too as a homemaker. So that just came to mind too. Like, finances are a big thing.
Yeah, I think something I've thought more about finances since having my son and tried to be more intentional because before it was like we're both working, it's just us. Like I didn't have to be as intentional with my purchases, but now like we're trying to save more for him and all of that stuff. I feel like you just think about things more intentionally once you have a kid that you're providing for. And so I feel like budgeting has been really helpful with the finances category because when I'm tracking what I'm spending, I'm going to be more intentional about what I'm buying because I only have a set amount of money that I can spend each month. And we've used Rocket Money, which I feel like has been super helpful. I don't know if you use any sort of like app. You definitely don't need to, but it just helps me because it's on my phone and I can just like open it, go in and look at my purchases and categorize everything and see like what I have left in what category, but I feel like that has really helped with the finances.
Yeah. We I go in manually to every single app and, like, figure it all out, but it's a tedious process, so I'm sure Rocket Money would help. Just, like, being aware of what you're spending is, like, the big thing. Like, since I since we had, like, a stricter budget this year, like, I've been more intentional about shopping at stores like Aldi and buying in bulk when we can. Have been I have always meal planned, and this kinda, like, jumps us right into, like, the food and health category, but, like, when I'm at work, like, while in seasons that I have been working, I've had to, like, meal plan for the whole week. Like, on Sunday night, I sit down and I, like, figure out all of our meals for the week, and for a while, I was doing, grocery delivery. Since we've been trying to save more money, I've been doing Aldi pickup because it's a little cheaper but still saves time. But doing, like, pickup or delivery on my phone actually helps me, like, make sure that I am just buying what I need instead of, like, browsing the stores and getting food, but also, like, having to plan out the whole week instead of, like, when I first was on maternity leave, I just, like, planned for a few days and I was like, "Oh, I can go to the store later." That actually was worse for us because although I do have the ability to, like, go to the store during the day, like, when I have to figure something out midweek, then it's so much more tempting to just be like, "Okay, let's go out," or "Let's order something." And so, like, I really recommend to, so many people to plan out the whole week. That also helps you, like, use ingredients efficiently, like, in multiple different recipes. Like, you're not gonna be making, like, 6 separate meals, you're gonna be, like, incorporating ingredients together, and ChatGPT, of course, is a great help for this. I use it constantly with my meal planning because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, I want 6 easy meals for the week that maximize ingredients and, yeah, health and all that." So, but planning it out all, like, the whole entire week has really been something that was good for me, and when I haven't done it, when I've fallen away from it, we've really struggled to both, like, get a healthy meal on the table every night, but also to save money, but also to avoid going out. Like, it's just helped with everything.
I feel like I'm just now getting back into this because now Matt's back when he's not here. Like I don't have to, plan my dinners like
But soon your son's gonna be eating food. I would like, that's sneaking up on us.
I know in a couple months I'm like, that'll be another thing added. But when it's just me, it's like I don't have to meal plan. Like I can eat the same thing for like 4 days. So it's like it's a lot easier. But now that Matt's back and now I'm back at work, I have to really be intentional about meal planning and like figuring out what to eat on what days. And I feel like what has worked for us, but I need it's gonna be so hard with work because it's like when I get home, the last thing I want to do is make dinner. So I haven't figured that out yet because we've had people in town. And it's just been like I haven't really had to intentionally sit down and like plan things and figure out how quickly to make it, but I feel like in this season of life, like, we just need quick, easy, healthy meals, like, I can't be, like, making, like, a full half-baked harvest dinner. Like, that's just not where I'm at. So I feel like that is something that in this season of life, we're gonna really have to prioritize.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about that too because it is really, like I mentioned, easy to see homemaking as like the romanticized side of homemaking where you're wearing your apron and your dress and you're like frolicking around the home and cutting your vegetables and it's so cute and you're drinking your drink as you do it and all stuff. But it's like we have chosen to work in this season, kind of.
9 years ago when we
I know,
got
yeah.
to the
And so like part of part of that sacrifice is like how this is going to look, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to cut corners on the health and the importance of like family meal time. And so we're just finding different ways to implement like to get to the same goal even though it looks different in the lead up. So that might mean less excitement, like you're not trying a new recipe every other night, like you're eating the same thing like every week. And that might also mean simplicity for the health sake, like because if you're trying to eat healthy on a budget, like, that looks like, grass-fed ground beef, maybe a vegetable, and, like, not I used to always think that I had to have a carb with every meal, but, like, you don't. Like, last night we had salmon and zucchini, like, and that takes 5 minutes to cook.
Mhm.
You can really, like, simplify it, but still accomplish those same goals, like, so it doesn't have to be this big elaborate thing. The scripture does like talk about this too in 1 Corinthians 10:31. It says, "Whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all for the glory of God." So even in our mealtime and the food we're cooking, we want to be intentional because we can glorify God with it. The next topic that I wanted to kind of touch on was just like simplicity and clutter, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we just have to remember that too much stuff creates like mental and physical clutter, like we talked about earlier. Like if my brain is elsewhere thinking about all the different things I have to do, then, like, that's not gonna, like, result in a good, peaceful environment for my kids, and I think our home feels calmer when there are fewer things, and so we just have to be meaning we have to just choose meaningful pieces instead of, like, decorative clutter, and we just have to be really, especially with toys, careful about, like, how much stuff we're letting come in. We're not gonna be, like, stingy about, like, when people gift us things, like, we're gonna be thankful and have a thankful heart, but we just have to remember that, like, less stuff is less cleaning, it's less decision fatigue, it's less overstimulation.
Think this is so important. I feel like I really went to town during pregnancy at the end of my pregnancy and just, like, went through every single room in our house and got rid of anything that I, like, wasn't using. It's harder now that I have, like, way less time because that takes a lot. Like, took me, like, weeks, and I was not working, like, it was, like, the last month before and my son, and I just went through everything and was going through everything, but it does take a lot of time. But I think moving often also helps because we do it every few years. I feel like we really go through everything and are like, "Okay, this is what we're moving with, this is what we're leaving." And so I feel like that also helps us not have too much. And we have a really small house, so can't have a lot of stuff because we don't have much room. So, and postpartum, I went through all my clothes and like probably got rid of half of them, which I feel like is a common postpartum thing that goes, like, I hate all my clothes. I need all new clothes.
Yep, we just have a bin in pretty much each room, like my room and our kids' room, where like if something is too small or if something is, not in good quality that we don't want to keep anymore, we just throw it in a bin. That way I'm not like constantly like thinking about, oh, I need to declutter. It's like it's already done. It's just quarterly I have to go and grab that bin and take it to Goodwill or post it on Marketplace or something like that. And
That's
then
smart.
I also like think of Hebrews 12:1 when I think of this topic because it says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." And so this is just talking about like putting aside everything that hinders us in our pursuit of, a holy life, a life after God, and removing things that distract us from what matters. And I also thought in this category, like, we don't keep our TV in the living room. We have a TV, it just stays in the basement, and, like, this is another example, like, it's not for everybody, but for us, that was something that could, like, easily become a distraction from what we really wanna be doing with our kids, and just having it on, it can be, like, a mindless thing in the background, yes, but, like, for me, I want my brain to be, like, centered and focused and not distracted, so, like, things like that can be kind of considered on this category too, just, like, throwing off every weight that is holding us back and like finding things that are going to help and support the goals that we have, which that's why it's important to have like goals like we talked about way back in January. Like we want to have like a family mission statement, like things that we're working towards as a family so we know like what we should take away and what can stay.
Yeah, so we have all these things that go into homemaking, all the little tasks and the little chores, but it's not necessarily about that. It's about like the heart of homemaking, and homemaking is really stewardship and looking at it like that. It's serving your family through ordinary acts, and it's the small things that we do daily to shape family life. And so all these like small things build up and really create the home environment, and it's really blessing your kids. And I think instead of looking at as all these little chores that we have to get done and have to do, and we can look at it as a way to serve our family, a way to serve our husbands, a way to serve our kids. And someone had asked me the question like, "Oh, how are you like serving your husband in this season?" And I was like, honestly, like I don't know. It's like hard when you're consumed by your kids. But then my husband was like, "Well, you are serving me by like serving our kids." And so that was also like something to remember too. Like everything you're doing, even though this season focus has shifted a little bit, like the service that we do give to our kids is for our whole family, and the service that we give to our home is for our whole family too. So I think that is so, so important.
And a book recommendation I have that kind of ties into this is Habits of the Household. Have you looked at that book, Liz, at all?
I have heard of it.
It's so practical, but the tagline of it is practicing the story of God in everyday family rhythms. And like it just helps you bring everything you do, even things you wouldn't think about, like back to the gospel and like use them like as training time for your kids, like even prepping meals, even cleaning the dishwasher, like all these different things. Like you'd be surprised. So there's a lot of just practical ways to bring everything back to the point of it all, which is the gospel. So I really recommend that book, especially when it comes to homemaking. And just to kind of wrap us up, some some of our points that we covered today. Homemaking is about purpose, not perfection. It's about small intentional choices that shape a home over time. And next week we're going to be talking about some more like practical systems that we've implemented and or seen. I mean, some of these I haven't implemented but want to implement. So we're going to be talking about like the more practical side of it next week. This was just kind of talking about the point and the why behind it all. And we also wanted to invite you. Last week we kind of discussed how we're going to be doing the podcast moving forward. We're going to be doing 2 episodes a month, maybe a possible guest episode, and then we're going to be having a live Zoom call with anyone who wants to join. And so this month's Zoom call is going to be on Monday, April 27th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to hop on and talk about the homemaking topic that we've chosen for this month, we'll be posting questions on our Instagram that we'll be going over in that Zoom call and just like getting to know you guys. Like, we'd love to actually talk to some people who listen. Like, if you are listening and if you've gotten to the end of this episode, like, we would love to hear from you and talk with you and actually build a relationship with you. So, you are invited to that discussion on April 27th. And just be thinking, just one question from this episode, just be thinking, like, what's one small thing that you can do today to make your home feel more peaceful? Do you have anything else to end this episode with, Liz?
Oh, it's just funny that this is coming at a time where I feel like because of work, it's
I
like,
know. Well, that's
it's like
why,
I,
like, I was actually, like, tempted to change the topic, but then I was like, honestly, it's more applicable than ever because we have to think more intentionally about how we're gonna, like, make our home, like, in this season, and I know so many of our audience, like, is working right now, and so, like, we aren't any less responsible for it because we are working outside the home. We're still responsible, but it just has to look different.
it's like 2 jobs.
Exactly, which is fun stuff. We hope that you guys are encouraged by this episode and just reminded to think about your why. And with that, this has been Erin and Liz helping you mind your mission.